Hey everybody, welcome to this week's recap. We're in week 2 of our What's Your Next Move series. If you're joining us online and checking this recap out, I want to encourage you to go back and watch the whole message that's available on our Facebook page or website. And if you're in a small group and you're watching this, guys, it's been a great journey so far. And I hope you guys have some rich discussion about this in your groups. So this week, we started to look at what is the process that God leads us in and what's the process that He wants to take us through so that we can follow the plan that He has for our life. We talked about, too, how as humans, often we want all the information, all the info up front. I mean, who plans a road trip that doesn't try to get all the details? I mean, we live in a society where we can plan stuff to the second. And it really is nice to have all the details, right? But when we're following God's plan and direction in our life, it doesn't happen that way. We don't have all the details up front. And what can happen is we can get frozen in fear or irritated that we don't have enough information in our opinion to keep moving. So to answer this question and look at what is it that God uses to bring us into His will and follow His direction, we looked at the story of Paul. And specifically, we looked in Acts chapter 16. We recounted how Paul hit some roadblocks. He thought he was supposed to go one place, couldn't get in. Then tried a plan B to get into this other place. He couldn't get in. And then at that point, God gave him a vision, a miraculous revelation. And he took that as direction from the Lord to go to Macedonia. Now, things didn't pan out like you would think it would pan out. The vision that Paul received isn't exactly what ended up happening. It wasn't all smooth sailing. There wasn't a huge explosion. Just because God gave him a vision doesn't mean it was going to be smooth. It doesn't mean it's going to be like we picture it. And that's what Paul encountered. But at every step, even when it didn't work out like you would think it should, Paul kept moving forward. He kept taking a step. He saw opportunities and he took a step. He was constantly looking for direction from God. And when he saw that direction, when he saw that light, he took a step in that direction. He was obedient at every step to what God was calling him and directing him to do. Even to the point of going to prison. After he cast out a demon, he ended up getting thrown into prison and beaten. It wasn't a bad situation. But in the midst of that horrible situation he found himself in, God showed up with one of the hugest miracles of his journeys when God opened the doors of the prison, sent this huge earthquake, and as a result, a lot of people got saved. Now, that's not to say that Paul missed the mark because he ended up in prison, but God took him to that place so that he could get him somewhere completely different and do greater things through him. Now, what does that mean for you? First, and most importantly, Paul didn't have all the details up front, but he had direction. See, God is not going to give you all the details for His plan up front, but He will give you direction. Just like Paul, we can seek the direction that God is wanting to lead us into. But then once we see that direction, we've got to take a step in that direction. We've got to be obedient to that call and take a step. And after we take that step, we've got to do the same thing that Paul did. Take the next step. Every point we see His direction, we've got to keep making moves, keep taking steps. And God will lead us and guide us as we do that. Psalms 119 says that His word is a light unto our path. When we are following God's plan, we're going to have enough direction to take that next step. You see, we don't have to know the future. We don't have to know all the details. In fact, knowing the future would make life boring, and it would rob us of an opportunity to trust and depend on God. Even though we don't know the future, we can take our next step. Just because we don't know the future doesn't mean we can't make our next move. We just need to know the next step. So if you're in a small group, I want you to discuss how does God lead and guide you by taking steps? What is the direction that He wants to bring your life into? And if you're online, ponder those things as well. I ask that you would pray and ask God to open up your heart and your mind to receive His direction in your life. Next week, we're going to be looking at those things that God uses to speak to us. It's going to be a great time. So we look forward to joining with you guys next week. We wish you guys the best. Till next time.
I just wanna see them.